Something huge has happened at the Flushing Driving School. Have you guys heard? The famous Flushing Driving School has really blown up. Now thousands of people are probably going to lose their driver's licenses. Some might even face jail time. You heard me right. It's been going on for 5 years. What were they doing? You know what? They were cheating, bribing examiners, hiring people to take tests for others. For just 2,000 yuan, you didn't even need to show up at the exam site. They just mailed the driver's license right to your home. In other words, they brought the whole shady backdoor deal from China and turned it into a thriving business here in the US. I gotta say, us Chinese are really clever, but sometimes it's a bit dangerous, isn't it? In early July, T&E Driving School, located in Flushing, New York, was accused of bribing employees from the Department of Motor Vehicles to help thousands of applicants, mostly Chinese immigrants who speak Fujian dialect, obtain driver's licenses without taking or passing the driving test. The driving school targeted customers through social media, charging $1,600 for applicants with a learner's permit or $2,000 for both the learner's permit and the driver's license. Employees at the school either impersonated applicants during the test or bribed DMV examiners to bypass the testing process and issue permits and licenses directly. A blogger stated that the DMV has begun a thorough investigation, and anyone who obtained their driver's license through this driving school will likely face consequences. The mildest penalty could be a revoked license, while more severe cases might involve court proceedings, potentially affecting immigration status, and in extreme cases, deportation. He questioned, how difficult is it to get a regular driver's license in the US? It's easier than getting a motorcycle license back in your hometown. Why resort to buying one? Bros, listen to me. Just follow the rules here in America. Don't try to play that game we do back home. America doesn't play by those rules. A vlogger in Mexico said the actions of some Chinese have really messed up the local market. Chinese people are known for being smart and hardworking, but Chinese in Mexico, they've used that cleverness the wrong way. You see that sign on the building across the street? It was already there last year when I came. It says, "Warning, if anyone tries to take my store or warehouse, they'll be in trouble." Why? Because a bunch of Chinese people came rushing to Mexico, grabbed the shops, and jacked up the prices. They doubled, even tripled the price of stands. The original Chinese business owners here were pretty chill, running their businesses smoothly, but when the others came, they messed up the whole market. On top of that, a lot of Chinese come here with very little money, using the old country connections to get products on credit. They tell shop owners, "Look, I'm Chinese. I want to open a store, so you supply me." And then they take the goods to other cities to set up retail stores. When the business is doing well, they'll pay the shop owners little by little each month, but when business drops, they'll stop paying. They just don't pay, leaving a lot of unpaid debts. So when we say China squeezing or overworking, this is one of the big reasons. Neizhuan, or involution, has become a popular internet term in China in recent years, referring to irrational internal competition or voluntary competition. With China's economic downturn, doing business has become increasingly difficult across various industries. With a rising unemployment rate, competition has worsened. People are now starting to notice that this extreme competition is spilling over into other countries, with many not playing by the rules. Not only has this sparked dissatisfaction among locals, but it has also made other Chinese nationals uneasy. For example, in Egypt, local tour guides have openly complained about how they worked hard to learn Chinese and memorize history, only to have their jobs taken by Chinese nationals. This Egyptian tour guide said in Chinese, "People want to make money, but they're doing it illegally. If they're making money like that, we, the locals, are left without work, while they're just running businesses. I don't know why Chinese people are like that. Chinese people are used to pushing themselves hard." He complained to the Chinese tourists. 20 years ago, there were no Chinese tourists in Egypt. It was just opening up. So the locals started learning Chinese, preparing to guide Chinese tourists. They studied history, recorded all the stories just to be good tour guides. But now, some of the Chinese living here have nothing to do. They're not working, but they're still guiding tourists, driving their own cars. If they keep doing this, what will we do? The law doesn't allow foreigners to be tour guides in Egypt since they don't have the proper licenses from the Tour Guide Association. Why are they doing this? I don't get it. Germans and Brits and Europeans come to Egypt to travel, but there aren't any German guides for Germans or British guides for Brits.
But there are many Chinese living here.
When Europeans come, they arrange for local tour guides.
It's just that there are a lot of Chinese living here.
But the law doesn't allow them to be guides. A tour guide is considered a national security job. It's not allowed.
They want to make money.
In fact, more and more Chinese people are choosing to go abroad in search of opportunities to make money. On July 14th, a blogger shared that they were preparing to visit Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand, and noticed that many people were at the Public Security Bureau getting their passports processed. It seemed that everyone felt that domestic competition in China was just too overwhelming, with more people leaving the country. The visa-free agreement between China and Malaysia came into effect on July 17th. According to the agreement, Chinese citizens can stay in Malaysia for up to 30 days without a visa for leisure, tourism, or visiting friends and family. The total stay cannot exceed 90 days within any 180-day period. However, this new measure has sparked mixed reactions among Malaysians. While the influx of Chinese nationals have brought in tourism revenue, the use of visa-free entry to engage in business activities or evade regulations has become a point of concern and criticism. The opposition party in Malaysia also worries that Chinese competitors, using low-cost strategies, may harm the survival of small and medium-sized businesses. Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia, is increasingly becoming a new battleground affected by the Chinese-style competition. A Chinese vlogger in Kuala Lumpur said that their biggest impression upon returning to Malaysia was that everything was too competitive. That's really scary. In just 5 years, Kuala Lumpur could really become the Chinese Kuala Lumpur. We Chinese are spreading this squeezing all over the world. You see those new media training sessions? Do you know how much they cost? Just 299 yuan. You can't get that price anywhere else. The Chinese have really pushed things to the limit. I have a friend who used to do building materials business here in Malaysia, and his margins were nearly 60% to 70%. Now he's been squeezed down to 20 to 30%. Some factories are even going as low as 15 to 20% profit. It's really scary, and this time, I noticed a huge number of Chinese people coming to do social media, vlogging, sell stuff, open factories, study abroad, and it's just increasing. Also, the proportion of Chinese people buying homes, whether it's apartments or villas, is going up. In the next 5 years, will China really bring all its people, factories, and education here? Will this become a copy of what's happening in China? The influx of Chinese nationals into Malaysia seeking work has been growing, with even fields like plumbing and electrical repairs now being snapped up. However, this time, it's not just about seizing business opportunities, it also involves fraud and intimidation. According to a June 25th report by Malaysia's Chinese language media China Press, a 48-year-old chef in Johor, Malaysia, came across an advertisement for waterproofing services on social media and contacted 2 repairmen who claimed to be from China. The workers spoke with a distinct Chinese accent and said they had entered Malaysia on tourist visas after years of working in waterproofing in China. Without suspecting anything, the chef allowed them to proceed with the work. However, the job was done hastily, with just adhesive used to seal the areas. Afterward, they demanded 6,900 Malaysian ringgits for payment. Since the chef did not have enough cash on hand, he paid half up front, and the workers insisted that the remaining balance be transferred to a bank account in Singapore. The receipt never came, and 2 weeks later, the chef received a blank invoice with no company name. Even more concerning, the repair failed within 5 days, and the workers cut off contact, even threatening the chef with the words, "If you keep complaining, we'll burn your house down." The case has been reported to the police, but authorities are concerned that this may not be an isolated incident. The victim believes that these Chinese scam syndicates are likely operating throughout Malaysia, not just in Johor. A Malaysian blogger noted that an increasing number of Chinese businessmen, teams, and freelancers are entering Malaysia under the guise of tourism plus entrepreneurship. On the surface, it appears to be a tourism boom, but in reality, it marks a new wave of entry, with many coming to Malaysia for small-scale businesses or low-capital startups. While the photography industry has already felt the pressure, other sectors are beginning to face a prelude to having their businesses, quote, taken. A Malaysian netizen commented, "Chinese people will bring the harsh work culture from China to Malaysia. There's no overtime pay. You're expected to be available 24/7, and Chinese bosses can verbally abuse or even hit their employees if they're unhappy. When Chinese people can't find jobs in China, they flood into Malaysia, and that makes it even harder for locals to find work. More and more Chinese nationals are choosing to develop their careers overseas, not just for travel or short stays, but to truly establish themselves in local markets." A vlogger shared that this year, the purpose of Chinese people going abroad has shifted. They're now looking to settle down and develop long-term careers. This year, going abroad has completely changed. People used to go abroad to make money and then bring it back home. Now the people who go abroad, especially those in their 20s and 30s, the income isn't even the point. They want to go to places where they can bring their families. Once they get a status, they stay abroad. Many people, especially the younger generation, don't plan to come back. They're just so tired of the competition in China. They don't want to live such a stressful life anymore, and they're thinking about their kids' future. They don't want their children to follow the same tough path. Yesterday, besides meeting guests at the booth, I also went to check out other exhibitions. I saw a lot of Chinese companies there. Everyone's saying the same thing. The competition in China is just too much. We can't take it anymore. We have to go abroad. To be honest, now we brought the competition abroad to the European market. In my years of experience in this market, and over 10 years in China's market, in China, lowering prices is still a way out. But in the European and American markets, you can't just use low price, low quality products to take over the market. This won't work because high-end customers in Europe and America have high standards. You need to provide products that meet the local demand, not just lower the prices and think that'll work. As the competition for government jobs in mainland China intensifies, more and more young Chinese are turning their attention to public sector positions in Western governments. However, some overseas scholars have warned that this intensifying competition for civil service positions may impact employment opportunities for locals and could also raise concerns about national security risks in Western countries. A former overseas trade investor explained why Chinese people are not often welcomed abroad. Chinese people in any industry makes others lose out. When Chinese people go abroad, whether it's to study, travel, or do business, they're not welcomed. Why? Because we've pushed the limits. We're working 12-hour days, never stopping. After 8 p.m., you can see that only Chinese-run shops still have their lights on. We bring low prices, high efficiency, and great service. Our hair salons can beat the competition in just 1 year. The foreigners can't compete. Why does the whole world dislike Chinese people, especially in Malaysia and Singapore, where Chinese people are directly told to go away? Why? Because Chinese merchants only care about profit. They rush into markets and destroy local businesses. In Spain, for example, a very relaxed country, once the Chinese came, they opened their shops at 5 or 6 a.m. and closed at midnight, even on weekends, pushing others out of business with low price selling. The Spanish hate Chinese merchants now. This vlogger looked upon Chinese competition as a positive.
We Chinese never give up. When we go abroad, we just leave everyone in the dust. In Italy, for example, a haircut costs at least 25 euros, but Chinese-run shops only charge just 8 euro. Why? Italians require appointments, but we don't. We just walk in anytime and get the job done quickly. And then there's the work ethic. Locals work 8 hours a day, then take a break for afternoon tea. We work 12-hour shifts, never stopping. Even after 8 p.m., only Chinese-run shops are still open. With low prices, high efficiency, and good service, we can beat the competition in just 1 year.
But there are also bloggers who are speaking out about the reality of this kind of intense competition. They argue that this is something that only exists among Chinese people. Even when Chinese nationals go abroad, they continue to compete with each other. Chinese issues expert Xu Ke stated that traditionally, Chinese people are known for their hard work, endurance, and intelligence, and in the past, they had strong moral values, which were seen as positive traits. However, since the Chinese Communist Party took power in 1949, it first implemented a planned economy that brought China to the brink of collapse, while also initiating political campaigns like the Cultural Revolution that destroyed Chinese morals. On top of this, China implemented economic reforms in the 1980s, and after enduring poverty, the Chinese people were determined to make money at any cost. Xu Ke added that after the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests, when hopes for political reforms in China were crushed, Chinese people shifted their focus to wealth accumulation, using any means necessary to make money. The competition for wealth grew fiercer, and as economic opportunities became scarcer. He argued that if a nation retains its traditional moral values and follows ethical business practices, its society would not face such intense competition, and Chinese people abroad would no longer be seen as a threat.